so lost, trouble. I thought that I might fall apart. And even though I'm just a fool, I'm so blue, yeah. I know that I can make it through. I'll keep on fighting. Watch me.
Shout out to our Red Wings drum line. How awesome was that, everybody? And a big welcome to everybody else to our 2022 NHL Draft Party presented by Bud Light. I'm Daniella Bruce. Joining me this evening, we've got Ken Kale, Art Regner, and Kirk Maltby. Better late than never, Kirk. Get this man a microphone.
Well, I can share a microphone with
There
Kirk.
you go.
I don't have a mic here right now, but yeah, 6:30. You know, it's better late than never, though, right?
You know what? Scotty Bowman would have fined you for not being here on time. You know that.
All right, well,
But he wouldn't have left you at the airport like he did Ken.
Oh, there you go.
It's good to have the three of you here. A big welcome to everybody here attending at Chevy Plaza outside of Little Caesars Arena. And of course, all of you tuning in to Red Wings social media channels for our stream today. We're getting ready for the 2022 draft where the Red Wings have the 8th overall pick. And you guys, I got to say, it's a beautiful evening here in Detroit. And it's so good to see all the Red Wings fans in person. You know, a midsummer hello to everybody.
You know what, Daniella? It reminds me of Christmas in July.
There
it really
you go.
does.
That's a better way to put it, Ken.
Because I wish the schedule just came out, and I wish the opener was tomorrow, because look at these hockey fans here. Hey, hockey fans, are you ready for some hockey or what?
Come on, you guys better respond to Ken Kale. Louder than that. Come on, everybody.
Oh, I guess we must be in Chicago then, I guess, huh? With the enthusiasm here. Come on, Red Wing fans! Draft, yeah! Woo!
Art Regner, always bringing the energy. We can count on that. Ken mentioned that we got to see our first look at the Red Wings schedule for next season. Some other news that happened earlier in the week, or I guess late last week, the Red Wings hired a new head coach in Derek Lalonde. He most recently spent 4 seasons as an assistant in Tampa Bay, but he's had success at every level he's coached at, including the collegiate level, the USHL, the ECHL, and of course, winning 2 cups in Tampa. So it's really exciting to see him behind the Red Wings bench for the season. You guys, give me your reaction to the hiring of Coach Derek Lalonde and your first impressions after seeing his welcome press conference. Ken, we'll start with you, because you got to sit down with him and talk to the coach.
I did. I had a nice 17-minute interview with Coach Lalonde, and I knew him when he was with Bob Daniels over at Ferris State University. But as you mentioned, Daniella, Art and Malt, he's been a winner everywhere he's been. So, you know, it's a good hire by the Red Wings. And again, it's going to take some time. The Red Wings are still in a rebuilding process, and we just hope that everything's going to go right and smooth, and some of these young players that were drafted several years ago could make this Red Wing team, and up the ladder they'll go. But terrific head coach, I think, and it was a great assistant and successful everywhere he's been.
Art, what did you think?
Well, I think sometimes when Steve Yzerman speaks, even though he's cryptic most of the time and very guarded, he does give out a little hints of what he's thinking about. And he always said when he was talking about the coach 2 pressers ago that he would like somebody he at least knows or familiar with. Now, Steve did go out of his way and say that Derek Lalonde, he really wasn't intricate in hiring him because he was phasing himself out of the GM role when Derek came in. So it was John Cooper's hire, yet he was familiar with him because he had been, because he met him in Green Bay when Derek was coaching in Green Bay. And so he was familiar with him. And I think the thing that I like is that, you know, Bob Daniels, as you said, the fine coach at Ferris State, you know, Jeff Blashill was a goaltender at Ferris State and also an assistant, but there is a familiarity with him, and I think that he knows what kind of style Steve likes. I mean, Steve built the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I know Brisebois and all that, the GM, he made some moves and stuff, but essentially the Tampa Bay Lightning are Steve Yzerman's team. Derek Lalonde has been there the last 4 seasons. He knows the style that what Steve wants to do here in Detroit, the way that he wants to play, so I think that familiarity, which Steve has gone out of his way and said that is the #1 criteria for him when he makes a big hire. I like the move. I mean, I don't think it can get any better unless maybe it were John Cooper himself, than maybe getting his top assistant.
All right, Kirk, my question for you is a bit of a 2-part question. We keep hearing that Derek Lalonde is a player's coach. So 1, do you agree with that? And 2, describe what a player's coach means.
Well, first and foremost, just to your question to these two guys, I mean, Ken's been trying to sell a boat for the last 30 years. So I hope he doesn't bother Derek with that. And then there's always Art with his last question before his last question.
His other last question, and then his other last
That is true.
But no, I kind of think of, when I thought of Derek Lalonde, I kind of thought of Jared Bednar in Colorado.
Oh,
he
that's a
won
good
everywhere where he's been and where he started. You talked about Derek started down in Green Bay. I don't know exactly where Bednar started, but he was in the minor system, in the low tier of pro hockey, and he won. And then he came to the AHL, he won. And then he got to Colorado, and he won. That's kind of the way we're kind of going in the same direction here, because Colorado, whether you like them or not, we all know.
You especially can't.
Yeah, but the reason.
I'm surprised you even said Colorado. I thought.
Well, trust me, I enjoyed the years that they struggled, and Jared Bednar's first year they really struggled, but that's how they got the McKinnons of the world and the Landeskog's of the world, and that's how we got the Siders and the Raymonds, and we'll see today who we get. But to be a player coach in today's day and age is it's definitely. I don't want to say there's no tough love, but it's kind of just the way the game is played. And I don't think it's just hockey. I think it's all professional sports. I think it's you kind of a little more positive. Kind of you're not so hard on guys. There's not two-a-days. There's not bag skates. There's not that kind of things. Practices without pucks. But just knowing a little bit of what I know about Derek and when he was with Toledo and then going there and what I've heard is he's a listener. He's a teacher. He's got patience. And that's on a Stanley Cup winning team. So he's going to definitely need to bring that here. We still got a lot of growth to go ahead here. But a guy like Derek seems like right now the right type of guy, the right hire for all these young guys that we're going to have.
If I may ask a quick follow-up to Daniella's question, can you be a player's coach and crack the whip at the same time? Because there have been some rumblings that maybe the Red Wings, this current club, maybe need a little bit more of a taskmaster, a guy who's, prickly, shall we say.
Well, I think it's a fine line, obviously, but that's up to the coaching and the coach and the coaching staff, and obviously working with Steve. You really get to learn to see what the players are like. I mean, even talking to the trainers are the guys that deal with these guys day in and day out on a personal standpoint. You get to kind of know their personality, what they're like. Are they morning people? Johan Franzen was not a morning person at all.
I love him.
So it's going to be a bit of a learning process starting in training camp for Derek and whoever else he brings in. We still have Alex Tanguay, who will probably be able to help with a little bit of letting them know what certain guys are like. But certain guys you push different buttons. Back in the day, Stevie was low maintenance. He just went out and played hard. Sergey kind of had to be a little more gentle with a little bit.
And I think people are surprised that probably the one Red Wing who was the highest maintenance player was Nick.
Yeah. Well, that's the understatement of the year. But
he was not.
No, he was. Nick was. Again, the fact that Nick had the career that he had and did what he did and was so low maintenance is unbelievable. Like I think Paul Coffey in that 48 game shortened season back in '94.
I think it was '94.
I think he went through like 45 pairs of skates.
Really?
Something ridiculous.
Didn't Paul Coffey? You guys remember Paul Coffey's? I don't know if it was like a size 9, but he would wear a size 6 skate or something.
He would wear about a size and a half, 2 sizes too small. So he was just like his toes were in there.
Permanently look like that.
Yeah. So, but
kind of a concubine.
But saying that, he was one of the best skaters to ever play the game. So.
Right.
Not to digress, but I think you're an evening guy.
All right, let's get back to talking Derek Lalonde.
He burns the candle at both ends. Let's just be honest about that.
Leave it to Art to get on. How do we get on that subject? Anyway, back to Derek Lalonde. I just had one more comment I wanted to make about him and can get your thoughts on this. One thing that I really took away from his press conference was one quote. He said, "I don't take this job if I don't see winning in the future." And he's done it at every level. He knows what it takes to win. He's played against the Red Wings, coached against the Red Wings, I should say, multiple times. He sees something in this team. He sees what we all see.
Well, he mentioned that when he was behind the bench in Tampa Bay as an assistant coach, Daniella, Art, and Kirk, that he knew what the Red Wings were all about even back then. Tough to play against, close the gaps, and the youngsters on this team like Raymond and Sider, there's some good young up and coming players. That's why we're here for the draft that are going to be a part of this Red Wing team down the road.
Yeah, that's right. And Art has something to say.
I was just going to say, look, he what he sees Mo Sider. He sees Lucas Raymond. He sees Simon Edvinson. He sees, Big Elmer. All 6'8" of them. But he sees all that. But what he really sees is Steve Yzerman at the helm, and he's coming from a situation in Tampa where Steve built that team. So he's in a really, really good situation. I mean, he knows that because Steve's calling the shots and Steve's drafting, and Steve, as Kirk can attest to, is one of the most focused, disciplined, and no-nonsense guys when it comes to the task at hand that you're ever going to meet. He understands that if Derek Lalonde fails, and I'm not saying he is, and I don't think he will, it'll be on him. It won't be on the team that Steve Yzerman gives him.
Well, I would just, jump on that too, as well as when Steve came in, I think a lot of people thought, well, this will be the end of Jeff Blashill, because of our record and where we're at. And, we didn't lose that many games because of Jeff Blashill. We lost a lot of games because we didn't have a good enough talent. Making the playoffs 25 years in a row, you're not getting those high first-round picks like we talked about earlier. We're not getting the Landeskog's and the McKinnons and the Kale, So it's the way the salary cap works. And then not only did he not fire him, but then he gave him a year extension. And then after this year, obviously, he's moved on, and we bring in Derek. And this is Steve's guy, like you said. And Steve is a very diligent guy. He keeps his cards to his chest. We didn't know who he was going to hire. I know there was rumors. But when he brings in his guy, whether he's here for 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years, Steve believes that he can come in and do the job that he wants done right now for what we have and what we're going to draft and what we're going to free agency possibly. Right. So yeah, I agree. Like, Steve has a plan, and Derek Lalonde is obviously a big piece of that.
And we trust Steve Yzerman's plan. I think everybody can attest to that. That's here at our 2022 NHL Draft Party presented by Bud Light. We mentioned the schedule being released yesterday. It's always an exciting time for Red Wings fans. Some big games this season, opening up the season, the home opener here at Little Caesars Arena, October 14th against the Montreal Canadiens, an Original Six matchup, and it's going to be a good one. Montreal has the first overall pick tonight, and they're going to be getting better and better as the seasons go on here.
I'll just jump on this real quick. I don't know if you guys know, because you've been out here. Did you hear about the trade? Montreal, or that Chicago made with Ottawa?
Oh, yeah, DeBrincat, yeah.
Okay, so I know it's not Montreal, but they're kind of neighbors. But for me, just jumping on that, though, Montreal, I always love playing the Original Six teams. They have a good fan base that travels, but hopefully here we'll have more than our share of Red Wing fans cheering on home any night, as we usually do. But it's always fun to play. They got Marty St. Louis, who is kind of the guy that they're entrusting their young group of guys, and they got the first overall pick this year. So it's going to be a lot of fun for opening day, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and Steve has a little history with Marty St. Louis. I think he shipped him out of town, right, when he got to Tampa.
They got Sergachev, didn't he?
That was a great trade. Jonathan Drouin, too, but all kidding aside, look, I would be stunned and surprised if Montreal, where the draft is, if they didn't take Shane Wright with the #1 pick, a big Canadian lad. I just see that it'll be Shane Wright's NHL debut will be right here at Little Caesars Arena.
But we are going to find out very soon if that's the case. But if it's not, and Montreal decides to go with Slafkovsky with that #1 pick, we know there's some interesting scenarios that could play out with New Jersey being at that 2 pick, and they're open to it. They want Slafkovsky really bad.
Well, if they don't get him, they're open to trading that second-round pick. As I said,
second overall pick.
Second overall pick. Shane Wright's NHL debut in a Red Wing uniform right here at Little Caesars Arena.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe. I mean, hey.
Against Montreal, who passed on him?
Right, who passed on him. I mean,
now
talk about that.
Scenarios.
But then you get Zadina, who's still upset that Montreal didn't draft him. So, I mean, it's going to be a revenge game. Get your tickets now.
Yeah, well, I would say on that this is a tough draft because there is not that generational player or players available. The Connor McDavids, the McKinnons, and all that, where, that's a no-brainer. Now it's to the point where you got two guys that are pretty equal, different positions. I don't know what they're saying. I mean, I've heard rumors that they're going to trade for the second overall pick from Jersey, and they're going to be picking 1, 2, and at home in front of their home crowd. So we'll see what happens. But that would be.
I like that
I mean,
one.
they got some pieces. I don't know their whole organization, but I believe they have some pieces. But at the end of the day, they better be careful because you don't want to be. They're in no better shape than we are. If not, I'd say a little worse.
I agree.
I would say but it is definitely a way to have a draft in Montreal, your home crowd right there, trading for. Well, you have the one and then trading for two, so it'll be exciting.
Right. Well, I think Red Wing fans might remember this. It was like when Chris Webber was drafted first overall here in Detroit. His draft year, it was here. The draft, the NBA draft was here. I mean, there's something about being, the Shane Wright's not from Montreal, but I mean, being in your home country and your name called, being first overall, I mean, it's got to be such a rush. And so I just can't see the Canadians not picking him. I really can't.
Well, we will find out shortly, but I know Ken Cal is a huge fan of holidays in general. He loves the holidays. We always celebrate the holidays here at Little Caesars Arena. Of course, we'll have our Halloween game. We'll celebrate that a little early on October 29th this year. And Thanksgiving Eve is one of my favorite games of the entire year. Tonight, that will be against Nashville here at Little Caesars Arena. So some exciting events coming up. And of course, New Year's Eve, too. The Ottawa Senators in town for New Year's Eve.
Yeah, Alex DeBrincat coming to town.
That's right.
But, I'm growing pumpkins in my garden. And I know
I'm going to go pick them up while you're on the road trip.
Well, you're going to have to pick them because I'm going to be in Buffalo as the Wings are taking on the Sabres. But what I really like is the last couple years now, we've been home for Thanksgiving. And, of course, Thanksgiving is a big holiday here in Detroit. And the game before Thanksgiving, we always play at home. That's always a big deal here in Detroit. But I know for like 13 or 14 years in a row, we were always traveling on Thanksgiving, and that's a little bit of a downer. So it'll be nice to share Thanksgiving with the family. And, of course, I know you're a big Bills fan there, and they're playing the Lions on Thanksgiving.
Oh, are they really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll have to make sure
we know where he's going to be now.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to speak for. Very rarely do I speak for Kirk Maltby, but I do know that on Halloween night, even though he travels and he's a pro scout and all that he has agreed to sit in Ken Cal's pumpkin patch and wait for the great pumpkins. So, because Kenny's on the road, he's
We're
working.
bringing a camera to this event too. Just so you know.
Well, I know Ken will have beer there. We'll be good to go.
Yeah, he'll have a couple of cold ones for Kurt in the pumpkin patch as the great pumpkin descends upon it.
That's right. I'll leave you the cooler in there, too.
All right, everybody. Like we said, the schedule has been released. Make sure you check that out. Get prepared to buy your single game tickets. Stay tuned to DetroitRedWings.com for more info on that. And everybody that is here at Chevy Plaza today, make sure just across from the Meyer entrance, you go say hi to Jason Woolley and Drew Miller. They'll sign autographs for you. They'll take pictures. We know that they're great guys, Art. We work with those two all the time on the big screen show.
I've already seen Jason.
My Sparty guys, fellow Spartans.
Yeah, you gotta love Michigan State. Someone has to go there, right?
Right, you're right. The cool people have to go to Michigan State. All right, so we already created.
The smart people go someplace else.
Oh man, I'm not even responding.
No,
Must be Wayne
Danielle and I
State.
really do like each other.
Sometimes. We've already created some crazy draft scenarios.
Right.
So let's talk about the Red Wings specifically and what this team actually needs moving forward. And let me tell you, this is not meant to be derogatory, but it's a little bit of everything. The Red Wings need to improve in every single area. When you look at their goals for last season, they were ranked 25th. They were ranked 31st in goals against, 26th on the power play, 32nd on the penalty kill, and their shots per game were also ranked at 25th. So again, there needs to be improvement everywhere. So you can't really say that they're going to go positionally here. I think it's going to be the best player available, you guys. But Ken, what do you think? How do they improve these numbers here next year? We're not looking at these same types of stats.
Well, I really had a hard time handicapping this year's top 10 picks just because of the fact that over the last couple of years, we kind of knew who was going to go 1 through 5 or 1 through 6.
Right.
This year, it's a crapshoot. I mean, there could be guys that are on the table that we didn't think that would be on the table by the time the Red Wings pick. So it's one of those situations where there's a lot of centers and wingers in the top 10. There's 2 defensemen, and I think Philadelphia and Seattle need some help on the blue line. They could go and choose those defensemen. But I think when it comes down to the Red Wings, I mean, there could be 4 or 5 players that are going to be available. And, like guys like, Marco Kasper, Jonathan LEKKERIMÄKI, Matt Savoy might be there, and Cutter Gauthier. So who knows? Like, we're just going to have to wait and find out. And the other thing is the Red Wings, we have to keep in mind, have cap space, and free agency is coming up. The Red Wings will have to spend some money just to get to the floor. And there's always the possibility, Art, of perhaps a trade if they want to move up.
Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it'll be interesting. If Montreal does not take Shane Wright, I would imagine that the Devils' phone's going to be ringing off the hook of guys seeing what would it take to move up with that second pick. I do think Detroit would be part of that conversation just because, let's be honest, and I know Kirk's probably not going to divulge too much there, but the Red Wings need centers. I mean, they need centers. They need to shore up that second line. They need a second line center. I'm not saying Shane Wright could step right in, but I think that would be really, really attractive. Let's be the draft lottery has not been kind to Detroit, although they lucked out very, very well with Lucas Raymond. And from what I hear, Lucas Raymond was high on their draft board anyway that year. But with that said, I'm saying that they need help up front. And I tried to, and I knew he wasn't going to answer it. I asked Steve that question about all things equal goalie.
It's a great question. It was a great question.
What would you do? And he said, good question. I'm figuring out how to answer that without answering it. So let's just say I'll answer it after we make the pick. And I said, okay, agreed. But they need help up front, and they need goal scoring. They really do. If Cutter Gauthier's there, that's the guy I would take because he's big, he's rugged, he can play center, he can play wing, he scores goals. I really, really do like him. Matt Savoy, the one thing, and in Kirk, he's a pro scout. He's in charge of like 6-7 teams that you look at primarily.
A few more, but
is it 9?
Like 10.
10 is it? Or really? Well, they're adding to your they're adding to your workload too. More work, same amount of pay. But but anyway. But my point being is this: is that if Matt Savoy wasn't 5'9", he could be the number 1 overall pick. How big is that working against him, and could he drop to the Red Wings with the 8th overall pick?
Well, it's tough to say because we're in an era now where the little guy or smaller guy can play. I don't want to say little guy, but the way the game is called, it'd be nice to say let's just implement the left wing lock again, but we'll be in the penalty box, holding up, hooking,
right,
holding, all that fun stuff. But I think the X factor is Steve Yzerman
right,
in the draft is because he went off the board with Mo Seider. I mean, I don't know if anybody that saw that draft or watched it live, like Mo Seider was, I think, more shocked than anybody when Steve took him at 15 or 16, whatever it was. When he was rated at 15 or 16.
Yeah, he was rated in the teens, the mid-teens, like anywhere from 14 to 16, and Steve took him 6th overall.
Exactly. So who knows what Steve's plans are this time, and we'll see. I think with free agency being so close because everything's been compacted, I think the GMs are really talking on the floor probably today and even in Montreal the few days they've been in. So I think there's going to be a ton of movement this year, maybe more, and I don't know about maybe more, but maybe more impactful, bigger players, bigger names. And I just think that just because some team has the 4th pick or the 10th pick right now or whatever, I think by the time the draft here starts in a little bit, who knows who's going to be picking where, because there's going to be some changes. And so to say if he does fall to us, I think, yeah, I agree. We do need a second line center. I think we definitely do need some up front, some help scoring, regardless of if it's a center or winger.
Right. As long as they can put the puck
exactly,
in the net.
yeah. So we'll see. Time will tell, but it's going to be a lot of fun these next 2 days of the draft and then with free agency next week.
Well, Kirk, let me ask you this, because odds are we're not going to see any of the picks tonight's picks. We're not going to see them for a couple of years, most likely, right? But there are a lot of exciting prospects coming up next season that are coming over to North America, and Elmer Soderblom and Albert Johansson, Will Wallander, and then we're also, of course, really excited to see Simon Edvinsson, who everybody already has pegged as making this Red Wings team.
He's on the club. If he is a major disappointment. Yeah. Major disappointment if Edvinsson doesn't make it.
So no matter what happens tonight, we're going to see a lot of young talent coming through Detroit or Grand Rapids next year.
Yeah, no, and I mean, for people that can make it to Grand Rapids through the course of the year, whether it's been in the past or moving forward, it's great hockey. It's a lot of fun, and as a fan, to go there and see the potential future of the team, or not everybody, but there's going to be guys there. But yeah, to your point, there's a lot of young guys that are turning pro this year. I think we got another little handful next year. Mm-hmm. So for us, it's really exciting. The problem is, and it's been a key word here over the last few years, is patience. Unfortunately, they're kids. They're 18, 19-year-old kids. Some are a little more developed, physically, mentally more than others. And some are ready, some are not, and some need to play in the AHL. But it is exciting. I agree with Art on Edvinsson. I'm hoping to see him in a Red Wings uniform opening night. Big boy. You got Sider back there as well.
Right.
It just it really makes you excited to see where the future's going with the club.
What about Jonathan Berggren? Everyone's talking about him.
Yeah, no, I really like him. He's not a real big guy, talking about, not so big guys. I just think, the problem, not the problem, but a lot of things for these European guys coming over are just learning to play on North American ice. The game's called a little bit different.
Right.
The American League's called a little bit different than what it is at the NHL level. And I just think they need that time. I know in the little bit that Steve did divulge in Berggren, which was not very much, he did say that he liked his development over the course of the year. He thought he was acclimating himself to the North American lifestyle, North American game, and he probably needs another year, maybe even a year and a half, 2 years down there. But I think during that course of time, he might get a game or two to see what he could do on a call-up basis.
Right, and Berggren set the Grand Rapids rookie season scoring record at like 65 points. He had a lot more assists than he had goals. He had 40 some odd assists, but yeah, you're right. He really definitely acclimated himself well, and he really came on in the second half.
Yeah.
He's going to get an opportunity to make the team, I would assume.
Well, in today's game, whether it's our organization or any other one, it seems like there's just a lot more call-ups. I mean, you want these young guys to earn their position up here. You want them to earn the call-up. But, whether it's coming up for a week or 5 games or a month, depending on the situation, you want to make sure they're prepared and ready to go. So I think, a guy like Berggren, in his case, he didn't get called up this year, but it was probably the best thing for him.
Right.
All right, you guys, we are just a few minutes away from the draft starting.
Hear the anticipation building in the
I can
crowd?
feel it. I can feel it. But before we get
The
to that,
energy is, wow.
you two, I won't make Kirk make his pick. I won't ask you who your
Do you
pick
want to
is,
make a
okay?
pick?
Yeah, unless you, no.
I don't have the cheat notes like these guys do here. I'm going to leave it in Chris Draper, my good friend.
See there, great answer.
Yeah,
Great answer.
Great answer, yeah.
I sent him a note. I wished him luck. Do us right, and he will.
That
All right,
sounded
Art.
like Family Feud when the Family Guy gives an answer and they know it's not up on the board. Good answer. Good answer there, Kirk. Yeah, good answer.
Art, give us your pick. Who are the Red Wings taking at 8?
Well, I think if Cutter Gauthier was there, that's exactly who they would take. But I am going to go a little bit off the board, and I think that they're going to take Jimmy Snuggerud, who also plays on the U.S. development team. He's 6'2", comes from a hockey family. He's big, he's rugged, and for what I've heard, no one found out until he was at the Combine just how hard and accurate he has. The best shot in the draft. That could translate into a lot of goals at the NHL level. I'm going Jimmy Snuggerud.
All right, those of you that tuned into Art Regner's mock draft, he changed his mind. That was a little while ago.
I like Frank Nazar. He's going to Michigan, so I love the kid. But, I think Frank... I really think Snuggerud just because of size. I think he's over 6 feet. Unfortunately, Frank is not.
All right, Art, you're cut off. Ken, your pick. Who are the Red Wings taking 8th overall?
That is called the spaghetti on the wall theory.
Right? You just did the same thing.
Exactly.
He's giving Kirk crap for it.
If he's on the board, I like Cutter Gauthier. He's a guy that can play the center ice position. He can play on the left side. I think he's more of a winger in his development, and he's got a great shot, can get it off quick. He's going to go to college, maybe spend a couple years there, 1 year at Grand Rapids, then he'll be ready. So I think if he's on the board, they go with Cutter Gauthier. And Daniella, who do you like?
All right. Well, here we go.
Uh-oh.
My pick. I'm actually, you stuck to your mock draft too, Ken. I'm also going to stick to who I picked earlier in my mock draft, and that is Jonathan LEKKERIMÄKI. He's a winger playing in the SHL. I got a reaction. There we go. All right. Fans are with me, you guys. I love this.
That seems to be the popular choice. Sorry, fellas.
Come on, they all look Swedish.
Best pure goal scorer in this draft. He was described as a pure sniper and a great two-way player. He's 5'11", so he's not huge, but he's not on the smaller side that we were talking about earlier. I don't think they're going to be able to pass him up if he's on the board at 8. So I'm going with Jonathan LEKKERIMÄKI. But we are just moments away from finding out who the number 1 overall pick is. And things could get very interesting, everybody. So thank you so much for coming out to Little Caesars Arena tonight for the 2022 NHL Draft Party presented by Bud Light. We appreciate you. And we'll be back up here with Larry Murphy joining us after the Red Wings make that 8th overall pick.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Sticks with the Minnesota Wild. All right, we're running out of time, but some